Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Magia X for the PC. The game was developed by Super Acid and Vanillaware Games and was also published by Super Acid as well. If you are a fan of Vanillaware style games such as Princess Crown, Odin Sphere and Grand Knight's History, then you are in for a treat as this game is heavily based off those. Magia X originally started life as a mobile phone game, but it has now been upgraded and ported to the PC. But the all-important question is it any good though? Here's more details in the review. The game's plot is your standard fantasy-style setting adventure. You'll take control of one of 4 characters, and then you'll proceed to go around hacking and slashing your way through various baddies, monsters and whatnot, whilst also uncovering various plots against the kingdom. Each character has their own story, but for the most part the story is the same no matter which character that you choose. Out of about 100%, I would say that around 80% of the story is pretty much identical no matter which character that you select, with only around about 20% of that being for each individual character themselves. So sadly this is not a case of 4 individuals with their own stories, which then come together to make up one big one. You get 4 characters to choose from in Magia X, and each one will feel very familiar to you if you ever happen to have played Odin Sphere on the PlayStation 2. As such, I am going to use some of those characters as an example here, so that if you did ever play that game, then you should instantly know what I mean by how the characters handle when I compare them. Clara, for example, feels a bit like what Velvet does in Odin Sphere, only that instead of chains, she uses a fire whip and fireballs to attack her enemies. Lita handles a bit like what Gwendolyn does, in that she's a magic user who will go around casting various lightning or frost spells, and then when she can't use any of those, she will simply just clobber what she can with her staff. Morgan is the game's knight and is the heavy hitter of the bunch, and handles a bit like what the Shadow Knight did. Morgan could go around smashing enemies with either a giant axe or a hammer, whilst also protecting himself using a shield. He might be extremely slow when compared to the other characters, but he can take out a large group of enemies at once with just a single hit. Aiden is the game's rogue character and is probably best compared to Cornelius in terms of how he handles, as he is the easiest to get to grips with, especially if you are playing the game for the very first time. He has a balanced amount of power and speed, which is okay at first, but later on in the game you're going to need to give him a fair amount of attention in order to get him at his full best. The point is when it comes to this game's cast of characters, they are varied and they all handle very differently from each other, and whether you're new or old to this type of gaming experience, you are bound to find someone you like from this cast of characters. For the gameplay, I'm going to do the negative parts first, and then focus on the good aspects of the game. So with that being said, here is the main issue. The game is exceptionally grindy, and I do mean grindy. Everything starts off okay at first, but then you very quickly realise that in order to level up your skills and such, you're going to need to redo a lot of the guild's quests over and over again. And you do this in order to gain tokens, which you're then going to use to advance your skills. It's not exactly a deal breaker, but be prepared to do a fair amount of grinding early on. With that part out of the way, here's the good parts of the gameplay. Originally the developers made this game for the mobile system, but weren't happy with how the game handled. So instead they gave everything an upgrade and brought the game to the PC. Everything looks and handles so much better than what it did before. You have so much more control of your characters now, and you're able to do a whole host of various attacks and special moves, with new ones becoming available the more you level up your skills. If you are a fan of hack and slash style games, then get ready because this one can get crazy right from the very start, with dozens upon dozens of enemies on screen at once. And that's not counting the huge boss battles which you'll have to constantly face. Since this game is like a recreation of past Vanillaware games, and since I mentioned the game was originally on the mobile platform, you might be thinking that the game is going to be rather limited in what it can do graphics wise. Well, I have got good news. The game's graphics are exceptionally beautiful, with loads of bright and vibrant colours to them, with lots of animations for each character and monster alike. The graphics do an amazing job of what they're trying to do, and things only look better now with the PC edition of the game. Honestly, I do not have any faults with the game's graphics. They're bright, they're colourful, they really stand out, and they make you want to look more at them. And with that being said, that's exactly what the graphics should do. They should be eye candy. And that's what this one is. The game's levels work in stages. Think Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Sega Mega Drive, and you'll get the general idea of what I mean. Each level is broken down into around 3 to 4 stages, with the last section being a boss fight. You'll start off in one area and defeat all the enemies in that area, and then you'll repeat that until the boss fight happens. You'll also be doing all this while a timer counts down above the screen. The point of this timer is that the quicker you do the stage, the more rewards that you earn. There's various different levels in the world to explore, from forests, dungeons, abandoned castles, mountains, lava flows, and many more. My only real complaint is that some stages are reused a lot for various sections, and when you start grinding, they can quickly become rather samey looking. It's not too much of a big deal, but you will be seeing them a fair amount once you start having to do the whole daily grind. I'm going to go all out on this one here. Yes, you should definitely buy this game. If, like me, you grew up playing Odin Sphere, Princess Crown, Grand Knight's History, and various other games made by Vanillaware, then you'll know just how special and amazing that those games can be. I've only ever really managed to get that feeling back with one other game, and that was a Vagrant on the PC, and that game does not get the credit that it really does deserve. Now though, Magia X has come along, and even though at present the game is in early access mode, that will not stay like that for long. The developer plans to fully release the game in about a month's time, everything being fully unlocked and available, because at this moment in time, the mobile version is fully finished. And what this means is that the developer doesn't have very long to go, and should hopefully have the full game finished by around December time on the PC. I'm really glad to see this fantastic game come to Steam, and being able to play it on the big screen, because this was one of the very best games available for the Android system, and now with it being on the PC, everything is just bigger and better than what it was before. The game's got a fantastic story, it's got a great bunch of characters to play from, it's got loads of challenges which you're going to need to master in order to overcome them, and even though the game can be a little bit repetitive at times, it really is just a fun game, which you can very easily lose yourself in and find that you have lost several hours whilst playing it. And if anything, that's what gaming should be all about. Well, that's it for this for you guys. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.